Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Way of the Panda. Let's check it out. How to set up the game is you're going to have your little action board here, your player board here. Every player in turn order will put one of their markers here. They'll start with 4 action points here and 6 victory points on the track. You'll shuffle through these during the game and end of the game cards. Deal out 1 each in any of those areas. They have certain winning conditions at the end of the game or during the game that you will follow. You're also going to shuffle these purple cards here and place them on each one of the temples on the board. After that, you'll flip them over and it will tell you what starting building will be placed on those. So you'll put those starting buildings out on the board and then give everybody their own little player board that comes with 3 wonderful unique sculpted minis. I think this is the monk, the merchant, and the warrior, but they all look different. You have a player board like this, as this is where they'll go, and these are their tracks, which I'll explain later. You'll have a bunch of these Panda tiles, these Panda all clear tiles, and you're going to start the game with multiple of these little Panda warriors that you're going to be using as actions in the game. At the beginning of the game, you're also going to be placing one of these little mini Panda warriors out on the board to cover up one of the ninjas on the board. You may not do it to a place where it just has 1 ninja. It has to have 2 or more ninjas. Now in a 3 or 2 player game, you'd be placing out 2 of these little pandas at the beginning of the game, but 4 player game, you're only putting out 1 each. And then you're ready to begin. Make sure that you have your little tokens, blue, red, and green tokens over to the side. For less players, you're going to remove some of these tiles from the game as well. And these generic Panda tiles as well should be over somewhere to the side. You'll also shuffle these cards here and put 6 out facing front up. That means 2 cards will always be out of each game randomly. And then you're going to place these over face up over to the side. After that, you're ready to go. You're going to be placing out each person, beginning with their first players. You're going to be placing out their masters in one of the cities or just areas on the board. And then once everyone has set their people up, you're ready to go. Now, this is basically done through action points and kind of a little bit of worker placement here, because these little pandas are going to be doing different things in the game. Let's say I just put my little one guy there to start. So the actions on this action board are very simple. First off, you can only go from left to right. And from there, you can only go from top to bottom. So for example, if my first action was to place one of my little pandas here, I could not go on any of these spaces above me or over to the left. I'd have to choose over to the right or anything else below me. And also, you got to look at the action points over here on the side of the track, because each one of these can cost additional action points. And as you see here, you can go below the 0 on action points, but you'll end up with -2 or -5 victory points at the end of that round if you do so. How you get action points back at the beginning of a round is however many of these little pandas that you have out on the board. So I have several pandas out on the board here. What would happen is I would get that many action points equal to the amount of players I had out here. So if I had 2, 4, 6 out to 10, let's say, I'd go back up to that. Or maybe I had 12, that was since I started off with -2. You can't have more than 12 action points at the beginning of a round. Now what these actions do are very self-explanatory here. This one's for the monk's action, this is the merchant's action, this is the warrior's action, and these cost 2 people to place at one time, and they are basically generic moves, meaning you can move any panda or do any action with this. This one here grants you 4 action points. Keep in mind though, it costs 2, so basically it's just giving you 2 more action points in the game. If you wanted to play on the same, let's say I played here and I wanted to play there again, could I play on the same place I was? Yes, but now I'd have to pay 2, and the next time I'd have to pay 3. And the same thing would be the case for, let's say that yellow player was already on this action and I wanted to take it next, I would have to pay 2 of my little pandas in order to take that action. If I wanted to take it again, I'd have to pay 3 pandas, which would very limit how many actions I could take that turn. Alright, so that's basically how this action track goes. Now, let me tell you what some of the actions are. Of course, all the ones you see here with them, an arrow moving, lets them move. And as they move, they have a certain strength they can move at. And if you look at your own player board, you can see, oh, blue cannot move but only 1 ninja. Same thing with this one, same thing with this one. Now there are tokens you can get in the game that would make them more powerful, able to cross roads with 3 ninjas, or even 4 ninjas if you're the warrior. And what am I talking about with that? Well, let's look closer at the board, and let's look over here at my green merchant, right here with the green base. Now he's a level 1, which means he can only cross over ninja roads that have 1 or less of a ninja. So if a road is cleared completely, if a road was cleared, I'd have one of these little clear tiles there, and he can move from area to area. But in this case, I can move over here, here, and here, because this guy is covering one of the ninjas. And so I can move any one of these 3 spaces. I cannot move here, here, or here, because there are 2 or 3 ninjas. And when orange does move over, he's going to drop off one of these ninjas over and basically kind of maybe he slaughtered one of them. And so one of them are dead. But when you clear a road, you get to place your token of your color over there, matching the panda number there, or if you want to, they have generic tokens too that you may use every once in a while. And then you place that, and this one goes back into your hand. So again, let me back it up, and let's say he was to cross over here. Well, since there's only one ninja showing, when he crosses over there, he can place the second ninja there, which would cover that road, which would allow him to wipe that board, put a 2 ninja there, a token there, and then take these up and place them back into his hand to play on that same round. Another action you can do is build, and depending on what type of panda you're dealing with, will let them build certain gates, temples, and towers. It just depends, and the iconography is very simple. So you can't build the same type of building that's already there. So for example, if a warrior ever came over here, he could not build a tower because there's already a tower here. And since he's blue, the only thing he can build is another one of these gates. Now, what you do when you build a gate, the rule book is very, very simple what you need to be doing here. In fact, over here in the corner it says, hey, if this is the first building in that location, then you need a minimum guards of 2. What does that mean? So moving back over here, if I was to build, let's say I was here, and I wanted to build a gate right here, well, I would at least need 2 of these ninjas cleared out before I did, or have 2 on the board. So if it looked like that, well, even though they aren't cleared of all ninjas, none of those roads are, I do clearly have 2 ninjas that lead to this road. So in that case, I would be able to build my first building and put it there. I would also get bonus points depending on what number building it was. As you see, the first one's worth 4, the second one's worth 3, and the third one's worth 2. But the requirements get higher and higher when you're doing this. In addition, you'll also get victory points from for guards of another player's color, which is why sometimes you may want to use some of these generic ones. Or you definitely want to build around areas where maybe the yellow player has built some, because you'll get victory points for his pandas who are watching on in glory as you build some of these buildings. Now after you build your third one, it then turns into a city. And so if I had, going back to this further example over here, let's say that I had a tower, and later on I was able to build a little temple there too. Well, that means it's now a city. So I would replace all 3 of these, put them back in the box, and put a city token out there showing it's a city. Now when I did that, at that point I could also go through the deck of these green cards and pick out any reward I wanted. Once I pick it out, I utilize it, and it's out of the game for the rest of the game. After that, then you're building on cities. Now city building actions are lower down on this track here and cost more action points. If you want to build in a city, you'll see the city as a base there. Whereas this spot, it just plants a temple. It can't plant a temple in a city. This would plant a temple in a city. That would plant gates and towers in cities if you wanted to. And of course this one lets, you know, any generic panda bear plant whatever city building you want in a city. But again, the requirements show more and more guards need to be on the road. In fact, the road has to be completely clear of guards, it looks like, before you can complete that city. But you are gaining bigger victory points here, and of course scoring extra victory points for any of the other players' pandas who happen to be connected to that road. Speaking of clearing roads, there are victory points for clearing all the roads around an area. Once an entire city has been completely eliminated from ninjas, the person who finished and maybe slaughtered that last ninja gets 2 victory points. Then all players with, and this is another reason why you'd want tiles of your color on here, because all players who have tiles would count up their tiles around that city, and they would get 1 victory point each for each panda they had there. So there's another way to get victory points in the game. Now, first player is decided by whoever passes first. second, third, and fourth, so you'll just rearrange it. Whoever passed first and whoever passed last is going last in that round. And other actions on the board you can do is by taking icons, either treasure, swords, I think these are lanterns, or beads or whatnot. And what you're doing is you're placing these on your player board when you collect them. Now there's only a limited amount, which means everyone won't be able to fill up all of these. What the beads, coins, and swords do is give you additional power in your movement. You can take out more ninjas that way. But what the lanterns, treasure boxes, and masks do is for the end game, because you'll get in-game victory points. You'll take this number and multiply it times whatever this number is on tokens you have filled up. So if I had 3 here and I had up to 6 of these, 3 of these lanterns, it'd be 3 times 6, that'd be worth 18 points. And I do that across the board. If I had 3, up to 3 more swords, that's a 3 times, but I didn't get a mask, so it's 3 times 0. Unless I got 1 mask, then it'd be 3 times 2, which would be 6 points. These are in-game points you can get in the game, and of course they would also strengthen each one of your pandas. I should also mention, when you're talking about these corners here, it has this little icon here. Corners are a little bit harder to build on the board. There's 3 corner temples, and since they're the most difficult, it takes a little bit more work before planting your, and of course they're always going to start with a building already on it. It's a little bit more difficult to build additional buildings on there. So as a reward, each time you build something on there, you get your choice of a neutral action on the board here, one of these white actions. However, you do have to pay the action points, or you can get 5 victory points, or you can get 2 of any of these tokens if there are some available in the game. And that's each time you place a building there. The game ends when you either have all 5 of these city tiles out, or 2 of these city tiles are completely filled by all 3 buildings, like so. After that, each player is going to add up all the victory points they have on their player board with their little tokens they've collected, and anything off of the in-game tile here. And whoever has the most victory points wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Woo! You know what? Back in the day, if I saw CMON, I would have gone running away in the opposite direction. They make nice minis, but they make poor games. And looking at this game, it looks really cool, right? I'm into Kung Fu Panda, so I was like, yeah, this looks kind of cool. But I probably wouldn't have gotten it back in the day. But CMON's done better over the years. This is old school CMON, so I was kind of worried when I got it. The game's super cheap, comes with nice minis, and usually that means it's not that good of a game. So much fun. So much fun. Like I said, what actions you can take, when you can take them, balancing out the bonuses, that there's victory points to be awarded during the game. It kind of steers the direction of what you want to go for, and then at the end of the game points, you want to steer back your direction. Sometimes they coincide. One of the during the game ones has some extra action points. You can, movements, actions you can take by putting your pandas on there. And this is like Panda Point Salad here, by the way, too. But the trick with that card was you have to have all 6 spots field before you could take all your little people back. So you have to trust that everyone else will play on that card too, or that you have 6 pandas to play on those actions. Either way though, super fun game. It always feels a little bit different. I started building on a corner piece, and that's the only thing that won me the game one time, because it took me a very long time to start building on that corner piece. But when I did, no one else could make it there in time, and I just started racking up tons of points because I started grabbing the extra 5 points each time because I was behind by a lot and caught up that way. You can pass the 100 track. It is possible. Not every time we did it, but a few times we did pass it. So you can get some victory points, especially for a 2-player game. You're definitely going to pass it. But yeah, this game is super good. Super cheap to get. A lot of fun. It can be a family style game too, because I think younger kids can get it. But I'll be honest, this is for adults as well. I am really surprised that old school CMON came out with a game that was this good. I understand these games look good, but that they play well too is just an extra bonus here. So Way of the Panda, well worth your time. So much fun. All right, gamers, that's it for now. Until next time, game on.